how much should an ayahuasca retreat cost? There are retreat centers out there that charge upwards of 5,000 US dollars. And there are many people out there who are saying, hey, I don't want to feel exploited when going on this healing journey. Well, what's a fair price for an ayahuasca retreat? And what is all the expenses that come into creating a place like this as well? So you're most likely not going to like the first answer, but it really depends. It depends what type of experience you're looking for. One deciding factor is the group size, because it's different to drink ayahuasca with 10 people than it is with 35 people. And some people prefer the more intimate. Others are like, hey, I don't mind if there's 30 other people there. It's more likely they'll make good friends. So again, it depends on you. Next thing to take into consideration is the accommodation. And in the first retreats that I've done in Germany, I was in rooms, sleeping in a ceremony room with probably around 20 other people. And honestly, it wasn't the most comfortable. Everybody brought their own mats. But I still had one of the most impactful experiences in my early ayahuasca journey that really helped change the trajectory of my life. And it didn't matter to me that I was sleeping in a room with 19 other people. Also, I went to retreats in the jungle where we were sleeping 10 people in one room. And of course it's a lot because there's always somebody who has a certain problem, this, that, and just a lot of people on a small area. But for me, I'm like, if I sleep in a hammock, I don't really care. But let's say there's Susan, who's 45 years old, and she says, well, when I was in my early 20s, I wouldn't mind, but now that I'm used to a certain level of standard, I would actually prefer to have my private room, private bathroom, that whenever I want to journal on myself and be with me and not see anybody, that I have those options. And of course, there are different types of retreats with different types of accommodation quality as well. Of course, how long the retreat is makes a huge difference. Are you there for 7 days? Are you there for a long weekend? Are you having 2 ceremonies? Are you having 4 ceremonies? And then again, what other activities are included? The ceremonies are, in many cases, the highlight of the retreat. But for example, we also do ice baths. We do a holotropic breathwork session, a hike, the purging day, a combo, a lot of other things to sharing circle to help people understand their experience and also going into the experience to prepare them with a lot of conversations. So depending on what other activities you have in the retreat, you also have to consider that in the price. One of the bitter truths we all experienced in the last 1 or 2 years especially is that life has gotten expensive. I had a participant who told me that he paid for a breathwork session in the US $150 just for a breathwork session. Also think about if you would go to a place where accommodation is provided, where food is provided throughout your whole stay with other activities as well. How much would you normally pay for that? In a way, an ayahuasca retreat center is a combination of a hotel, a restaurant, and all the psychological work that goes into it. And most likely, an ayahuasca retreat is not where you want to save $100 on, because it's a very personal, profound process. It's basically an open heart surgery on your psyche. And you want to make sure that you feel listened to, that you feel understood, that you feel safe, that you feel comfortable, that you're not just a list and a number and it's very unpersonal. So it's the place where you drink is very important, and that you feel that level of confidence. And money is a bit of an interesting topic as well, because there are people who spend hundreds of dollars to go on a date night. And in a way, people are really looking for deep personal changes within them. And how much is that worth? It's hard to put a number on it, but we'll get through that throughout the video. And there are ayahuasca retreat centers that I mentioned in the beginning of the video who charge significant prices, $5,000, sometimes even $10,000 upwards. And it can seem like from the outside looking in, hey, they're making a business out of it, they're trying to exploit people, all that kind of stuff. And maybe it's true for some retreat centers, but I have actually got to know two of them, and I have a different perspective on it. One of them is, I believe they charge around a $5,000 mark, and they specifically work with entrepreneurs, with high net worth individuals, and their concept is like, hey, we want to help these people find healing because they're going to affect so many other people. And if you look at it from a lens of an entrepreneur, he usually spends that amount of money on going on vacation anyway. And maybe even through his perspective, if the retreat costs $1,000, he would be thinking like, hey, why is this so cheap? If they only charge that amount, they cannot be that good. They're probably compromising on quality or this, that, or whatever. And maybe he's also thinking, oh, I want to be around other people who can afford that pricing. So for the target audience, that if you want to speak in marketing words, that they're working with, that price point works. They deliver incredible experience for the people. They value it, they receive the change, and it's great. It's a great organization. I have another friend who's doing a 2-week retreat, and he's charging around $7,000, and his target audience are baby boomers. He's also in that age group, and he says like, hey, us, we have money. Our problem is health. And he brings those people to that 2-week retreat, and he teaches them a lot about meditation, about creating your life inside out, developing those practices, building those habits. He also does multiple medical tests with people which determine their physical age, also what type of nutrients are missing in them, and so on. If you would get only the medical tests on the open market, it will be multiple thousands of dollars. They are in an incredible location. So it's depending on also what he offers. He has a gravity chair, multiple ones, which he spent a fortune on. And if you think about it, like whatever he's providing in that 2-week experience, it has a cost associated with it. And there's also people who are willing to pay that price, and where money is more of a secondary concern. And then you can also go to the other extreme with ayahuasca ceremonies for $25. And Sergio offers them at his place as well. At the same time, it's a lot different of an experience. Usually there's 40, 50 or more people drinking ayahuasca, and it's not that container of a retreat. So you come in the evening, there's some recommendations for the ceremony, you drink, you eat some fruits in the morning, and then you leave again. And it's important that people have access to ayahuasca. For us, it's a medicine, and we don't just want people who pay hundreds or thousands of dollars to have access to ayahuasca, specifically talking about Colombians who are living here, where the majority cannot afford that. So it's great and amazing that these options also exist. But then again, especially if it's more your beginning stages of drinking ayahuasca, you more likely want to be in a more intimate group, and also the conversations before, the lead up to it, having multiple ceremonies. It's a more well-rounded experience. I also want to talk about the expenses of an ayahuasca retreat. One big part is the marketing. If you look at this video, the camera, the microphone, the time to edit it, then you have the website, building the website, dozens of subscription models, so it adds up. And if you are doing this on a professional level, you need to do a level of marketing so you have an influx of people coming in. Because think about it, if you would have no website, no content, none of that, most people would be like, are they for real? Do they exist? Can I trust them? Can I not trust them? What can I expect there? So you have to, in this modern age, and the very majority of the cases, do a level of marketing. Then, of course, there's the price of the house, the accommodation where you're staying at, that the Ayahuasca Retreat Center also has to pay. Then the employees, the food that you get, then also the shaman. And if you think about it, you want the shaman to make a good amount of money as well, because the ceremonies are such an integral part of the retreat, and you don't just want to pay the least possible amount to your people, but that everybody feels valued. And it's a very strong and intense work, being attentive towards everybody in such a strong state, the whole level of experience that the shaman has acquired over decades of training, that needs to be compensated as well. Also the musician, and it keeps on going. If you then think about the topic of sustainability, for example, we work a lot with the purgative Azuvaktoto. It's a beautiful way, like it's not that beautiful of a way, but it's a very powerful way to clean the body. And it's also just native to a very small region of the Amazon. However, in that region, there's a lot of people buying land, cutting down the trees, cultivating cows, being in the meat industry, and they don't know about the medicinal plants that grow there, so they cut down those trees, those plants. And so maybe in 5 or 10 years, if this development continues, there will be no Azuvaktoto. So in a way, it's also our responsibility for being conscious and aware of that these things are happening, to buy land there and to cultivate the plant. And it just doesn't just apply to the purgative, it also applies to about the ayahuasca, cultivating the ayahuasca. So that's a whole topic of its own. The titles also say the easy part is drinking the ayahuasca. But before we get the ayahuasca that we share in the retreat, they are buying the land, they are cultivating the ayahuasca for multiple years, they are cooking the ayahuasca for multiple days. So just for us to drink the ayahuasca, there's so much work that goes in there before that as well. Also think about it that, there are months that are going better, and then there's months where there's not as much travel going on, where people stay more at home. And let's imagine there's a 3-month period where there's fewer people coming to the retreat, and you would want the retreat center to also have a certain level of reserve. So it's not like, next month there's not enough people coming, so we have to shut down the whole operation. So there needs to be a certain level of cash reserve as well for the retreat center. And then also and now we just after all of this, now then it's also you need to have additional things like a first aid kit and so on. It's just the list goes on. And then the facilitator, in this case, I'm a facilitator and I need to speak Spanish, I need to speak English. I need to be familiar with the indigenous culture, with the way of ayahuasca, to understand it, and also from the Western world, so I can be that bridge to help facilitate these retreats. And those people are not easy to find. And at the moment, I'm doing from the marketing to the facilitation, so many different things, and wearing a lot of different hats. And eventually, of course, I also want to be able to afford people to take off certain responsibilities off as well, to help grow the operation. And then also I want to make a level of money that is also fair for the level of energy that I put in as well. Not out of a level of greed, but also the more consciousness I have, the more resources I have, the more I can make those conscious decisions to help grow the operation, to affect more people, all that kind of stuff. So you see, there's a lot of things that go into the retreat center, and not just when people come, they drink, have a meal, and leave again. So at the moment, I have 2 different retreat options. One is a 3.5-day retreat with 2 ceremony, ice bath, holotropic breathwork, sharing circles, and I charge $395 for that. And then I have a 7-day option with 2 more ceremonies, yoga session, massage, a hike to a waterfall, more sharing circles, also with all the food and accommodation included, for $900. There's also private accommodation available for people for a higher price if they don't want to be in the shared rooms, but even the shared rooms are usually between 2 or 3 people. So And the feedback that I'm getting from the majority of the people is that the retreat is very inexpensive. Of course, the travelers who are on a budget and basically are not working at the moment, they're on a budget and they want to travel as much as they can with the resources they have available. But I would say the person who is working a normal job in the West, these prices are way more than affordable. And I will also raise my prices going into the next year. And I also feel like I'm very more on the inexpensive side of it. And from doing my market research and what other retreat centers are charging, and also what I have paid in the past to go to different retreats as well, I feel like $1,500 for a week, maybe even going up to $2,200, $2,500 for a 1 week retreat with a good level of accommodation, with 3 to 4 ceremonies, with additional activities is a very fair price. Also, of course, you have to consider that, I don't know when you watch the video, if you watch this video in 2 years, you have to adjust it to inflation as well. And I also talked with another friend of mine who runs a retreat center, and he says, Oliver, once you charge the $2,200 for a 1 week retreat, and you see that there are people who are willing and happy to pay that amount as well, you're gonna not do the retreats for $900. And I can see a level of truth in it, and it's important to understand that 95% of the people who are running an ayahuasca retreat center are not doing it for money reasons, but there's also a lot more expenses and moving parts that needs to be considered when running a business. And if you break it down at the very end, it's still a business. It's still a very special type of business where you cannot be like as cold, like, hey, leads, people, da 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 da, but you want to maintain the level of heart, the level of caring. And so it's a very big topic also, because it's spirituality, healing, how much can I charge, how much should I charge, what is a fair price. And I wanted to really make this video so you see different perspectives of how much an ayahuasca retreat should cost. In the end, there are multiple price points for different target audiences and for whatever you're looking for, whether it's in the $5,000 upwards range, whether it's in the $1,500 to $2,500 range, or maybe even the couple of $100s for a retreat. And I hope that you find a place where you resonate with, not just from economic and financial aspect, but also from the retreat center, from the facilitator itself, that you have a good feeling, that you feel safe, that you feel secure. Also, watch another video about how ayahuasca is a mirror to your soul. And thank you very much for checking this out. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.